Hi, my name is Catherine Wellington. I'm going to reflect a little bit on my experience as a communications and journalism student studying abroad in Spain. I think it was really cool because it gave me a different perspective on things rather than being at my home university, which is in Mississippi, because I was able to learn more about international journalism rather than just my own country. And since that was what the course was about, it was really easy to get different perspectives on things going on in the world. My own project in the beginning of the semester was on the European refugee crisis, which I realized that I didn't know very much about. And being in Europe, it was really cool to learn about since it was something that was affecting where I was living directly. In doing the research for that project, I learned about a lot of really powerful journalists and photojournalists, such as Nilüfer Demir, who was the photographer of the Syrian boy Alan Kurdi, who washed up on shore dead during the European refugee crisis. And that was kind of the start of where I saw how much journalism impacts international problems and how much one singular photo can cause so much change. And then after kind of learning about that, I looked at like how that photo affected people's perspectives and countries' motives and countries' plans for helping the crisis. And a lot of countries were more willing to help after that photo, and a lot of people were more accepting of refugees. I also looked at how Spain felt about refugees, and that was really cool to see because I now think of this as my own country being here for so long that I think it's interesting to learn the opinions of people who have grown up here and people who are local here. And I actually found it interesting to learn that most people are very accepting of refugees. Spain is actually one of the highest European countries. And I think it was about 86% who were more than welcoming for refugees, which is a very, very high percentage of people. Because I kind of compare this to the United States immigration crisis, where a lot of people are not accepting of immigrants, and there's still a large population that are, but with a president who's so anti-immigration, a lot of the citizens are also expected to feel the same way because that's who they're looking up to. So that kind of leads into what I was going to talk about with consuming media in Spain and then how I consume media from the United States while living in Spain. So, what I found interesting is that a lot of people here perceive the United States as only the president and the president's actions, and which makes complete sense because I think a lot of the news that we have access to here in Spain about the United States revolves a lot around President Trump. And just my experience personally here abroad, I've had multiple just cab drivers and random people kind of be like, what do you feel about Trump? And I tell my opinion, and they tell me that they don't like him and that basically he's a joke to a lot of people in other countries, especially what I've noticed Spain. So I found that to be really interesting that a lot of the access to news in the United States, there's more, but a lot of it revolves around President Trump. Also, how I consume news. So I've never been one to be like constantly keeping up with the news, which is something that I'm trying to work on, but especially being in another country and having to learn about the news in Spain and the United States was kind of different because I wasn't like in the United States to get the news directly. I was hearing it through Twitter or through friends and family, and that was kind of my main source of news. And that was also in Spain. My main source of news was through something like this class or also social media, which is kind of how the news is going more this way, that people are starting to get their news from social media the majority of the time. So I've loved being a communications and journalism student in Spain. It's taught me a lot about things that I wouldn't have learned back at home, and then I'm able to take that viewpoint and go into the world, go into Spain, go into my travels, and just not focus on the perspective that I have grown up knowing my entire life. So I'm very, very grateful for this experience and this class, and I'm excited to take what I've learned back home.